Hey guys, I am joining Jordan. It's Emma Vigling with TYT Politics, and this guy, you think you know his face.
Hold on.
Yeah?
Obviously, you need to see more of me. No doubt about
right,
it.
of course.
Go on.
Okay, President Trump is about to pull out officially from the Paris Agreement in a historic decision. Mike Pence is speaking right now, but it's pretty much leaked that he's going to do this. And he released, the White House released this memo explaining his decision. The Paris Accord is a bad deal for Americans, and the president's action today is keeping his campaign promise to put American workers first. Sure. The accord was negotiated poorly by the Obama administration and signed out of desperation. Actually, I think that this decision is a little bit more out of desperation, as he's desperately trying to hold on to his base and supporters, even though apparently 61% of Americans, even in red states, are in favor of the Paris Agreement. All but two countries, Nicaragua and Syria, signed the 2015 accord that President Obama negotiated. So now we are in the camp of Nicaragua and Syria, which is great. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson and Ivanka Trump, the president's daughter and advisor, are among those who urged him to stay in the deal, arguing that it would be beneficial to the U.S. to remain a part of negotiations and meetings surrounding the agreement as a matter of leverage and influence. If you recall, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson was the former CEO of ExxonMobil. So if he wants to stay in this deal, you really know that pulling out is a bad decision. White House Chief Strategist Steve Bannon and EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt, who has sued the EPA 14 times, pushed for the withdrawal, which can probably can't actually be finalized until near the end of Trump's term. Pruitt has said it's a bad deal for America, and Pruitt's claimed that China and India had no obligations until 2013 is incorrect. It's a lie. It is also the Paris Agreement backed by major oil and energy corporations, including Royal Dutch Shell, ExxonMobil, and BP. Large corporations, especially those operating in international markets, have had years to get used to the idea that there are likely to be reductions on carbon emissions, and they have been adapting their businesses accordingly for some time. So now pulling out makes them have extra costs because they have to roll back those adaptations that they have made in believing that this deal was going to go forth.
Real quick, so you could listen to the Oompa Loompa and what he has to say. Gangsta style.
Trip overseas where we concluded nearly $350 billion of military and economic development.
Fuck him. He's not talking about it. So, there's my dog, look. So, Emma just expertly talked about what's at stake here. I want to make a few points. First of all, the Paris Climate Accord that was negotiated by all these countries and initiated by President Obama, climate scientists and experts at the time said this deal itself doesn't go far enough.
Yes.
Most of them said it's it's better than nothing, but you're going to have to radically accelerate in terms of reducing the carbon emissions and the real drivers of climate change. So even the deal in place that Trump just demolished was not good enough. So then you understand the gravity of him removing us from a deal that was not good enough in the first place. That's number one. Number two, Donald Trump, we know some of the things he's going to say, talks about it being a bad deal for America and by extension, a bad deal for the world. This is not a business negotiation. This is a timeline for the planet. I mean, a business person, for example, I am working on a book right now. So I know how to write, but I don't know design, and I don't know how to make a good cover, and I don't know what I don't know. So a good business person or leader delegates out what they don't know to experts and professionals, particularly when the planet is at stake. President Trump, in this instant, literally has been convinced, not by scientists, not by experts, not by nuclear physicists, not by wildlife experts, not by any of those things, by a white supremacist neo-Nazi next to him named Steve Bannon, and a climate change denying EPA administrator who literally, as Oklahoma's Attorney General was he, of Oklahoma?
Yes.
Scott Pruitt, literally wrote emails and had the oil and gas industry write his emails for him because he took hordes of money from them. So not only does Donald Trump not understand science, not only does he not understand the difference between a normal business deal and the timeline of the planet's destruction, but if he is literally making decisions to destroy the planet with Steve Bannon as the driving force, what's next? We're gonna fucking nuke North Korea because Steve Bannon says so? It's very, very scary because MSNBC, CNN, they're not going to get into the actual climate aspect of this. As I tweeted, they're already fucking fixating on, well, what's the political fallout? Who gives a shit about the political fallout? I mean, literally, Miami and Florida could be underwater in 8 to 10 years.
But can I talk a little bit about the political fallout? Because I do think it's relevant. Because when we talk about deal making, Trump only focuses on, yeah, America didn't get all of it. We didn't con the rest of the world enough. But actually, politically, it's not a good move for him. If you look at the Yale study, there is no state polled in the entire country where less than 50% of Americans favor this deal. So it is a popular program, not just in the liberal states, not just in the liberal elite, but in Texas, in Oklahoma, and more than 50% of Americans favor this deal. Because you know what? The American people aren't that stupid, and they know that we need to cooperate internationally with people and make sure that our planet doesn't burn for our kids, for our grandkids, etc. So politically, it's a bad move, in addition to it being immoral and idiotic in 80 different ways. Can I give you a few basic stats on how climate change is hurting this planet? Because this is actual facts.
By the way, Emma is so distraught. Have you noticed? She can't even speak.
Yeah, I lost my voice this weekend, but I am very distraught about this because this actually may be the worst thing that he has done so far. But here's some basic stats for you guys if you don't know some of the stuff about climate change. From NASA, 16 of the 17 hottest years on record have occurred since 2001. But according to Republicans, that's just a coincidence, or whatever they think, volcanoes or whatever bullshit. Global sea levels have risen about 8 inches in the last century. The rate in the last 2 decades, however, is nearly double of that in the last century. The planet's average surface temperature has risen about 2 degrees Fahrenheit since the late 19th century. That is significant. 2 degrees average since the 19th century. And the oceans have absorbed much of that increased heat, with the top 700 meters of ocean showing warming of 0.302 degrees Fahrenheit since 1969. So that's a lot of ocean and a lot of water to increase that much in 50 plus ish years.
And also, just think about if you don't understand big numbers, sometimes I don't, just think about where you live, right? So I live in New York City. In February, it was 65 degrees one day. It is now June 1st, and it feels like August today. It's so hot.
Yeah, but we could bring a snowball to the floor
right.
of the Senate or House and just say it exists. Snow still exists.
I've covered a lot of stories in the Midwest I was just in Flint. On days it should be, like spring, not scorching hot, scorching hot. And these idiots like Trump say, oh, well, because it snowed a few days in the winter, there's no such thing as climate change. I mean, make America sane again, this is insane. It's insane that, forget that he's president, that a businessman, that a leader who has built structures, who has presumably had to rely on other people for expertise in things, would be treating something where it's not like 10% of people say it, it's 99% of scientists with data and support tell you something and look the other way and just treat it as like a business deal for some condo in Queens. That's not even Barron Trump and Donald Trump's plutocratic grandchildren, no offense to you guys, they are going to be underwater if this stuff continues. And I must say,
he genuinely doesn't care, Jordan.
Right.
Just saying about it. He doesn't care about anyone but himself.
And I must say, I keep it real, so this statement might not meet all of you with pom-poms, but I got to keep it real. I did not support Hillary Clinton during the campaign. I certainly didn't support him. I think that Democrats are not really all that different than Republicans in terms of economics and corruption, but we have to point out differences where there are differences. Hillary Clinton, if she was president, whether I support it or not, would have not done this. That's just a fact. She's not that stupid. And frankly, even someone like Clinton, her donors don't agree with this. The majority of intelligent people don't agree with this. Not even if they don't agree with it based on morality, there are actual business opportunities more, and smart investors know this,
Yes.
in solar, in wind. I've reported before, solar is now rivaling, in some cases passing, fossil fuels in job creation. Wind saw a 20% increase last year.
Yes.
So there are business. Donald Trump's a businessman, right? Well, this goes against common, basic sense, and we should say, what's his face in his
What?
administration? Rex Tillerson, Secretary of Oil, State. He was against the United States moving out of this. So even the CEO of ExxonMobil was against this. Gary Cohn, his top business advisor, was against moving out of this. So even like the most corrupt, nutty of Republicans aren't 100% on board with this.
Can I just say something about ExxonMobil? Because even these corporations, look, we always say as progressives, they are not immoral, they are not moral, they are amoral. They are without morality because they go where the money is. They are meant to increase value for their shareholders. Even the shareholders of ExxonMobil see the writing on the wall. With some reporting from The Guardian the other day, ExxonMobil, the world's biggest oil company, was compelled by shareholders to be more open about the impact of climate change on its business in a historic surprise vote. On Wednesday, 62% of shareholders voted for the resolution against Exxon's management at the company's annual meeting in Dallas, Texas. Basically, this was on the heels of Trump planning to pull out of the Paris deal. So this shows that shareholders and corporations see the writing on the wall as well. ExxonMobil, major oil corporations, have invested in renewable energy because they know that that is the future. So both business, corporate, and moral interests are on this side, but this buffoon just wants to go, I want to tear down every single thing that Obama built. That's what it's about. It's his little penis wanting to burn down everything that his predecessor did because he didn't support him and has said that he is an idiot in public.
But also, let's focus on, okay, Donald Trump's a master negotiator, even though everything he's tried to do hasn't gone through. Either the courts have stopped it or Congress can't pass any of it because it's all lunacy. But the position this puts the United States in, why would other world leaders negotiate with us on anything, really? Because Donald Trump has now set the motion in motion. Oh, well, if a fake populist or Tea Party radical becomes president, a sane person's treaty, they could just pull out. Frankly, Obama made a mistake. Obama, with the nitty-gritty behind the scenes, passed this without going to Congress. He didn't think he had the votes, so the America agreed to it with a non-binding resolution. Whether he could have got the votes, I don't know. I think he should have tried. So the way Obama negotiated it, there was not a binding element, so that was a mistake. However, how is the U.S.'s bargaining position or negotiating position now? Why would Syria or Russia or whomever, whether the environment, about war, about anything, negotiate it with us? Because the current president has basically told them we're not going to honor our treaties. And 3 years later, what was this, signed in 2014? 15. 2 years later, we're going to pull out. I mean, it's complete insanity. And the other thing is, what Trump is explicitly doing is basically saying, he is saying it's a false choice between the environment and business. No, it's just a choice. We already said you could actually make business out of environmentally friendly measures and products. But the bottom line is, if you live in Oklahoma, they're not having earthquakes by accident. It's fracking, and fracking's hurting the environment. The Dakota Access Pipeline has already spilled, that we know of, 3 times. Mm-hmm. As I reported, it's probably more because they don't report the true nature of how many oil spills. Texas spills every day. You got them reginning up these nuclear plants all over the country, the Trump administration. So this statement now is not only about the Paris Climate Agreement. He just greenlit every toxic environmental thing you could ask for. And by the way, it does not even create the jobs he's saying it creates. Because all these pipelines are temporary jobs. You know how many people are employed by the Dakota Access Pipeline after operation? Maybe a handful, sitting in some, NASA level center, that when the pipeline leaks, they shut it down immediately. But as I've reported, that doesn't exactly happen, as they say. So he's basically telegraphing to the world that America's open for business, be damned the rest of the planet. And you know what? a future president can undo a lot of things. You could undo, bad deals on trade if you really wanted to. You could undo. You can't undo, but you could lessen military involvement in other places. You cannot undo planetary damage. You can't. Like she said, we're warming the planet every year an extra degree. As Josh Fox and Bill McKibben, the data is the data. So it's very reckless, and it to me moves Donald Trump past just being an incompetent buffoon to a dangerous. This is the first thing he's really done and gotten through that I think is very dangerous. We should say that for the United States to fully pull out of the deal, it's going to be a process. They're not going to be fully pulled out, I believe, till 2020.
Yeah. So we don't really know what Mike Pence's stance is on this. Mike Pence could be president soon, so we shall see.
Well, I will tell you, having been in East Chicago as many times as I have, East Chicago, Indiana, Indiana has some of the has the lowest environmental regulations in the country. I don't know if it's the lowest, but it's up there. They do not regulate the economy, and he was a 2-term governor there. So
I'm not hopeful.
Yeah,
but
I'm not hopeful either. But you know what? What's maybe even more scary than what Trump did today, frankly, because I'm going to call it like I see it. The media is not going to focus on the environmental consequences. Maybe Chris Hayes will tonight for a little bit. Maybe Rachel Maddow will for a little bit, and then they're going to go back to Russia. Guarantee you, this is off the screen by tomorrow, if not the next day. They're going to focus on Russia. Listen, you know my opinion on Russia. I think it's been overblown. If it comes out that there's something, happy to come out and have egg on my face. But trust me, this is more important than whether Jared Kushner set up a back channel with Russia. I'm sorry, it is. Because if this continues, there's going to be no planet for Jared Kushner or Trump or anyone to be corrupt. So pay attention to the media because they're not covering it. I already heard Brian Williams talking about the political fallout and Nicole Wallace. I mean, yeah, it's a political channel. They're going to talk about that. I have not seen anything yet about the actual... Everything that Emma just reported, I guarantee you're not going to hear on MSNBC or CNN. So stay with us. Obviously, the Young Turks will do something on it tonight, and we'll do follow-up. I mean, climate deal, very unfair to us. Again, this is a child. This is not a normal business negotiation. You're talking about life or death for an entire planet. And we have a president with the IQ of a 5th grader who doesn't seem to understand that. Last thoughts?
That's really it. I think obviously the Russia story is an important story, but not the important story that is not a 24/7 cable news coverage. This isn't sexy, the climate burning up and the planet burning up, but it is important. And we have to make the difference between importance and sexiness, which cable news just can't figure out. And actually, maybe they're probably incentivized not to talk about it, but we should sign off.
And by the way, I'm going to say one thing that now that probably some of the Hill bots are doing victory laps, that I made a compliment that Hillary wouldn't have done this. I'm going to do something that's always going to fucking piss you off too. This is what happens when you rig elections. You put forward as a candidate the weaker candidate that all the data shows is the weaker candidate because you'd rather lose to a quasi-fascist than a democratic socialist. Because let me tell you something.
This isn't about her, Jordan.
No. It's about, I already said she would have passed it. But when you put forward the worst candidate and risk this is what happens. I bid you adieu. We'll follow up on this the more that comes out. He's still speaking. Share this video at Jordan Sheridan.
At Emma Vigeland.
And we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.